Hello, it's Jay here again and welcome to another tutorial. So, in the last lesson we got the enemy attack script up and working, and I received a request from a viewer actually quite a while back now asking that could I add a screen effect so that when the enemy strikes the player, we get sort of a blood splatter effect on screen, similar to the way a lot of FPS games work nowadays. So that's what we're going to create, or we're going to begin creating in this video. So first things first, let's create a new C# script, and we'll actually call this blood splatter. And then we'll open it for editing. And we're just going to get the variables in place in this video and get the rest of the script set up, and we'll probably complete it in the next. But for now, let's create some variables. So public float underscore fade out speed. And I'm going to give this a value, let's say equals 0.25f, and we'll close the line off. Into the comments, defines texture fade speed, public float and underscore, and we want fade out speed. And this time we just want to add modifier. So underscore fade out speed modifier. And we're going to give this a small value. And I'm just going to make mine 0.05f. We'll close the line off. Again, into the comments. Defines texture fade speed modifier value, and this one public float and underscore, and we want fade value. Now this one we do not need to give a numerical value, that will be adjusted when we come to fill out the rest of the script. So this can be left just closing the line off, and we'll say defines fade value. We'll come to the next line and of public float again, and we'll say fade value reset. And I'm going to make this equal to 1f, and we're going to close the line off here. Now, a word of note about this variable. This one must have a value of 1. And I'll explain why, probably in the next video when we actually come to filling out the rest of the script. But if this has a value other than 1, the script will not work correctly. Now, I always encourage you to experiment with values, and I would certainly encourage you to experiment with these two, but this one must be left at 1. And I would make this private normally, so we cannot adjust it in the inspector, but because I want you all to be able to see it working in the inspector when we come to test out, I'm going to leave it at public for now, but please be aware I will change that to private afterwards. And we'll get that into the comments. Defines fade value reset, and we'll come below here. Now this one can be of type public, but this time of type int underscore, and we'll say hit count, and we'll close the line off. Into the comments, and we'll say defines how many times the player has been struck by the enemy. And we'll come below here, and this one, public and texture 2D, and then we want to open and close the square brackets, and this is because we're going to have an array of textures. So the more times the player is hit, the deeper the blood splatter effect on screen. So that is what these two variables are for. And we'll give it a naming convention. We'll say underscore, and we'll just call this blood splatter. We'll close the line off, into the comments, create slot in inspector to assign an array this time of blood splatter textures, and then we'll come to the void start underscore. Now our fade value, we want it to be equal to 0 on startup, so we'll say equals 0. We'll close the line off, straight into the comments, and we'll just say fade value equals 0 on start up. And we also need the hit count to be equal to 0 as well on startup, and again into the comments. So we'll say hit count equals 0 on startup. And now I'm going to come here below the void update, and we need to be of type public, of type void because it does not return any value, and we'll say enemy hits. We'll open and close brackets, we'll open and close, and we'll come inside the first set of brackets and we'll say int underscore, and we want enemy hits. And we'll come below here of type void on GUI, and as always capital O capital GUI but a lowercase n, and we'll just open and close, we'll open and close again. And one last thing I think in this video, we'll get the debug log for the enemy hits void in place. So debug.log, as always we'll open and close brackets, we'll close the line off inside the brackets, and we'll put the speech marks and just copy in the naming convention, and we'll save that off there. So please do not worry if you do not understand anything regarding these variables. It will all become clear when we actually come to filling out these two functions here, and obviously I'll explain everything in depth. But I think we'll leave it here for this video and we'll pick it up in the next. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope to see you next time, and until then, as always, bye for now.